I'm going to attempt to accomplish something that's kind of like establishing peace in the Middle East. I'm going to unite four groups that it would seem impossible to unite. The environmentally friendly tree-hugging hippies, the techie nerds, the grease under their nail car guys, and the red hat wearing conservatives. It's true that some people are into these groups, maybe even three of them, but I doubt that there's anyone that's in all four groups. And getting them all to agree on something is a tall order. So I'm going to convince you that Tesla is the thing that can unite all four groups, because it is a car for everyone. Don't believe me? Feeling skeptical? Well, on the surface, I admit it's easy to see why the environmentalists love Tesla. It's an electric vehicle with no carbon emissions. It's great for the environment. So, this is the easiest group. This is kind of my way to dip my toes into these troubled waters. It's only going to get more difficult from here on out, so here we go. The next group where Tesla is a pretty obvious choice is the techies. Teslas are technological marvels. You run most of the car's functions via a large tablet on the dash. You can even use your social media apps on it or play games. But please, not while driving. Unless, and this brings me to my next techie point, your car is driving for you. Yes, Teslas have the ability to drive for you somewhat. The self-driving is not fully complete, but they're working on it. And one day, your Tesla will be able to drive you around. Imagine how much more productive you'll be if instead of having to do your work commute yourself, your car can do it for you while you are on your laptop responding to emails. That is, if we even work out of the office anymore. But this opens up a world of possibilities and is right in the wheelhouse of the techie types. Your car will basically become your own personal taxi. Now, this is where the difficulty level kind of spikes up quite a bit, so I may need an extra dose of electricity to power through it. This brings me to the car guys. Yes, the car guys. Guys who love cars, and generally they fall into a few categories, whether you love American muscle, European style, Japanese tuning. However, since I'm an American, I'm going to focus more on the American muscle car guys. But know that the points that I make are valid for any type of car guy. So look, I'll admit that there's nothing quite like the roar of a big V8. I get it. I currently drive an American muscle car with a Hemi V8. It sounds amazing. It's like driving around in your own thundercloud. But here's the thing. It gets awful gas mileage, and I have to use premium fuel. Now, I generally refer to premium fuel as the fun tax because fun-to-drive cars tend to recommend that you use premium fuel. But there's something else. As amazing as my V8 sounds, and as quick as it will go off the line, it would lose a stoplight race to 60 miles an hour against pretty much every Tesla, and definitely the performance models. The Tesla Model 3 Performance, a car that looks as unassuming as a Corolla, would leave me in a non-existent cloud of dust. At least it has the decency to not leave me wandering through its trail of exhaust fumes as it speeds off into the distance. And so, as a car guy, at some point you have to choose whether you want to sound fast or go fast. Do you just want the sound of thunder, or do you want the actual lightning? At this point, car guys might be saying, yeah, well, that's all well and good for straight line speed, but what about in the twisties? And that's a fair point. Teslas are heavier than they look because of the battery packs. And even though their center of gravity is going to be low because the battery packs are generally placed low in the car, they're still not going to be the most nimble things. However, if you're a car guy, do you really rev your engine at someone when you're at the start of a mountain twisty? Or is it while you're at a red light? The point is, in the real world, most go fast happens in a straight line. And if you really, really want to carve up some mountain twisties, go buy a first generation Miata for a couple $1,000s and go nuts. It's a lot of fun. Or you can wait for the Tesla Roadster. If you can afford it, it's an electric supercar that will do 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. That would give it the fastest 0 to 60 time of any production car. And it's lighter, so it will be better on the curves. So, if you're a car guy, you're going to have to either accept that the Greenpeace types in their Teslas will probably make you look silly when the light turns green. You'll be staring at their coexist bumper sticker as they drive off into the distance. Or you can jump on the bandwagon. And look, if you really miss the sound of a V8, an i6, boxer engine, etc., there will probably be someone who will capitalize on that and invent a sound system that will play car sounds. If there's a demand, someone will do it. And then you can sound fast while you're actually going fast. The other thing that car guys will probably miss is the third pedal. I understand this. I'm all about the save the manuals movement. I've said that I would never buy a car with an automatic. And this is a big drawback with an electric car. No gears, so no shifting. I don't know if this is an easy one to solve because while I guess you could put in a fake shifter, it just wouldn't be the same. It's like cars that have the paddle shifters. It's just not. It's not the same no matter how much people try to say it is. It's not the same. And it would definitely be missed. So you could go the route of the Canyon Carvers and maybe buy that original Miata for a few $1,000s and get your stick fixed with that if you must. The Miatas have such a buttery smooth shifter anyway, so it's not a bad strategy to go that route. The reality is, though, more and more cars are going the way of the automatic anyway. Their efficiency is such that it's now faster to go with an automatic. They can just shift it faster than a human being can. So, in this regard, Tesla is just ahead of the curve. You don't need to shift because you're basically always in first gear. And as more and more cars go automatic anyway, our options are going to decrease. And if you've ever had to commute in a busy city, Atlanta, you know how much of a pain a stick shift can be in situations like that. So, commute in a Tesla and have fun in an older car with a stick shift on the evenings or the weekends when it's a better time to be driving a stick shift car where there's not just a crazy amount of traffic and you can really row through the gears. I mean, that's really when a manual is at its best, is when, you know, you have kind of an open road and you can really have fun just kind of going through the gears rather than the stop and go, foot on the clutch, worrying about burning out your clutch because, you know, you just are engaging it just pretty much constantly. So, yeah, I mean, that you know, and of course then you're talking about having two cars, but, you know, it's kind of about having the best vehicle to fit the best situation. So, if you want to go fast, go electric. If you miss car sounds, make them up. And if you miss shifting, buy an older car that you can shift with for fun on nights and weekends. The last group that I have to convince is the conservatives, who might actually be easier to sell than the car guys if they can just see where I'm coming from here. Conservatives often don't believe in man-made climate change and think that environmental issues are overblown. I'm not going to argue those because I don't need to. This is not about politics. Let's forget about the environment. Forget about carbon emissions and the carbon footprint and climate change, and let's forget about all that for right now. Consider this. Every time you take your big gas-guzzling V8 or diesel-powered truck to the gas station, you're handing your money over probably to rich oil barons in the Middle East. You ever see pictures or videos of how some of these like rich guys in Dubai and Saudi Arabia, like they just have supercars sitting there in the desert collecting dust? Like, it's just an obscene amount of money that goes there. Do you know why that is? It's because of oil. The Middle East has gotten rich because we need gas, and gas comes from oil, and oil is prevalent in the Middle East. So let me ask you something. Do you like giving your money to them? Imagine if instead of handing your money to some guy in the Middle East that probably hates you and hates America, you could give that money to an American coal miner that probably has a lot in common with you. In fact, it might even be you. It's the kind of guy you'd want to get a beer with. You see, by fueling your vehicle with electricity rather than gas, you're giving your money to people that produce electricity. And for a good portion of the country, that electricity comes from coal. Instead of buying Middle Eastern, you're buying American. America, baby. Need more convincing? Until recently, Toyota was the most valuable car company in the world. Toyota. Now, I know some of you may like them because they make trucks and they're in NASCAR, but reminder, Toyota is still a Japanese company. Well, you know who recently dethroned Toyota as the most valuable car company in the world? Tesla. Do you know where Tesla is from? The USA. America. We once again have the most valuable car company in the world thanks to a company that many of you think is silly. And I get it. I used to think that Teslas were silly too. But then when I thought about it, I realized it makes a lot of sense. And so you see, you don't have to be some tree-hugging hippie to like Tesla. You can be a steak-eating, beer-drinking guy who would rather give money to an American coal miner than a Middle Eastern sheik. And so, tree hugger or not, techie or not, car guy or not, conservative or not, the Tesla really is the car for everyone. Whatever your angle, whatever your reason, there's a reason for you to drive a Tesla.